यत् आचरति श्रेष्ठस्
आचारति श्रेष्ठः
तत् एवेतरो जनाः
तद्येवेतरो जनः
स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते
स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते
लोकस्तत् अनुवर्तते
लोकस्तत् अनुवर्तते
Purport.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if he himself smokes. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called Acharya, or the ideal teacher. Therefore, a teacher must follow the principles of Shastra, scripture, to teach the common man. The teacher cannot manufacture rules against the principles of revealed scriptures. The revealed scriptures like Manu, Samhita, and similar others are considered the standard books to be followed by human society. Thus, the leader's teaching should be based on the principles of such standard Shastras. One who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules as they are practiced by the great teachers. The Srimad Bhagavatam also affirms that one should follow in the footsteps of great devotees, and that is the way of progress on the path of spiritual realization. The king or the executive head of a state, the father and the school teacher are all considered to be natural leaders of the innocent people in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with standard books of moral and spiritual codes.
In case you want to add some comments, you can add. Similarly, Sandeep, you want to add some comments, please share.
See, specific to what the initial purport से पहले जो पढ़ रहे थे, ये whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. He gave the example of Narendra Modi. I think closer home, I think for which I don't know, I have not thought through this, but this is something which hit me when this was written. Though personally, I'm a major fan of Modi, not so much a great fan of his in terms of the kind of freedom he allows others to do. He is very close to my way or a highway kinds. That part aside, but closer home, I think this great man whom we are talking about is generally, actually, it is not a man. It's not gender specific. It's I think it's parents for their children. I could relate it more because I see that reflection of my own self or my wife in both my children. They just follow exactly what we do. So there was this scenario when our child son was growing, when he was like 4 or 5 years old, or maybe even younger than that. That his reactions, his vocabulary, everything was exactly like we. Sometimes even the supposing हम लोग चिल्ला के बात करें, he would also reply the same way. Now that he has a sibling who's now 4 years old, he speaks exactly how I or Nirja, my wife, would speak to her in case she does anything right or anything wrong. चाहे वो tone of the voice हो, चाहे tone, tenor, vocabulary, thought process, all that. So I think which is what when we went to their school, I have not put them in conventional school, both of them. The counseling session initially, both the schools, first they were in Montessori, and now they are in a Waldorf school. So they say that the biggest impact that any child has in his life is the parents, because for him or her, you are the world, because for them you are for them the mother is the ultimate in terms of affection, love. They see what they get from her, they see her as the world. They for And when it comes to the father, in terms of discipline, in terms of the first hero of their lives and things like that, that's what they generally see them. So you set a good example to them. Otherwise, consciously or subconsciously, they pick up what we exhibit. So if you exhibit good things, they're going to pick up good things. If you exhibit bad, then that's going to do. So for my son, I mean, this learning for me came a little late. So he picked up a lot of things, unnecessary anger. And अब अपने को क्या है, हम sales के बंदे हैं. I'm talking about 6 years back, so I was just out of my Tata job. तो वो टाइम पे क्या था, दिन भर dealing with so many partners, my tone had become very different. So I have took a conscious effort in the last 6 years to tone that down. And I do not shout, do not do so much. I still cross the line at times, but that is something which I have seen a complete reflection in them. My daughter, her wearing the way she wears clothes is exactly like how my wife would do. Her reactions to in terms of generally, when you tell something, for example, me and my wife are talking something and she doesn't approve of what I do, or she approves of what I do. Either way, she has certain reactions. So she observes her so much that now her reactions to her friends are very similar to her reactions. If I were to look at how my wife does. So I think it's a thing. So this is one perspective. Second thing is when I think I shared this with Niranjan and also briefly with you guys in a similar discussion earlier, where I was part of a network marketing company. So I think the education system of any good network marketing company is exemplary. The word that Anand said, they always teach you this, that monkey see, monkey do. That's one statement I still remember. One of the first statements which the mentors said, monkey see, monkey do. They said you need to be a good example to your team. You need to walk the talk. If you don't do it, there is no way that your team is going to do it, which is what is probably the reflection in our company also, where I was one of the, I mean, without boasting too much about myself, I was one of the most successful business leaders, and that's why I had a phenomenal growth in TTL, in Tata Teleservices. In 13 years, I got 7 promotions, which is kind of unheard in there. I don't remember anybody who started at my level reach the level that I reached. And that, I think, one prime reason for that was that I was always on field. So when there used to be a channel partner, it's one thing to say that कि जाके ऐसा करो, जाके ऐसा करो, जाके ऐसा करो, but it's a completely different thing when you are there with them. Show them. You may fail at times, but even that failure also teaches you and them also, okay, ठीक है, these are things which are not to be done. So for them, the learning which I used to always say, so yeah, so what, yeah, I mean, if we have failed in this initiative, I had also come, I had also failed, so what, try another thing. So for people to listen to you, they need to see that, okay, what you are, I will follow somebody when I think that that somebody knows more than me and I can learn something from him. Only then I will follow. Otherwise I will say कि ये एक paper tiger है और armchair manager है, बैठ के काम करता है, सिर्फ काम वाम धंधा कुछ करता नहीं है. It just keeps advising. And like today we see lot of them on the Facebook as to how Virat Kohli should play a cover drive, or how what kind of military exercise our army should do, or what are the kind of policies Narendra Modi needs to take against Pakistan. You will have a lot of such people giving their own free advices. So obviously we disregard them, and you know how we react to them, right? So my complete uh, take home from this is basically on these three different examples that I have given. I think it's a no-brainer that if you uh, do not show the world a good example and something where you also continuously improve, I think you're going to be left out, and there are not going to be many followers you're going to have. I think so. That's what I would like to share in this.
Very well said, Sandeep.
Super, Sandeep. It was very nicely presented. Because this shloka, which is 3.21 of Bhagavad Gita, is so simple and straightforward. Uh, it's such a wonderful thing, and that it's a no-brainer. That was a very nice word, which I liked what Sandeep has highlighted, and monkey do, monkey follow kind of stuff, and exemplary inspiration, what we need to take, like what Anand was suggesting. It's very nice to see that this is a very simple, straightforward, very deep, easy to apply, straight in our lives. That is what this 3.21 shloka, which is Sanatana Dharma, has identified as long as more than 5,000 years as per the timeline, but it still stands true. See, it still stands true. That's the beauty about Bhagavad Gita and the impact that it has got on our daily lives. That's the beauty about Bhagavad Gita. I really appreciate and I thank the Gurus, Lord Krishna, for giving such wonderful shloka to be implemented in our daily life. So here I'd like to add a few more comments on this particular shloka which is there, that whenever we want to do something in our life, like children, if we start at our home, they don't do what we say, they imitate us. They imitate us. The kind of actions we do, our body language to a certain extent, the way we smile, or the way we treat our guests when they come into our home, or when we treat our relations, whether it is with a wife or a husband, or whether it is with a father and a child, or a mother and a child, or how we treat our relations, relatives, our friends, how we keep our things at our home, whether it is neat, dirty. They observe all these things, and they either make a decision mentally to follow it or not to follow it, knowingly or unknowingly. Most of the things happen unknowingly. The kind of thing what they capture in their life, these form the early habits. So this shloka is so important for a unit at the level of a house, at the level of a home, because the country is made of people and citizens, and the country is not just the ground or earth or the resources of the material things what we have. We are forming the entire structures so that as human beings we have very smooth relationships with each other, with lowered stress levels and more of productivity while we are enjoying doing our actions. Because this shloka is coming in the third chapter, which is talking about the karma yoga. So it is giving us a beautiful kind of a pathway, a kind of a guideline for us to follow in our basic unit level, at the level of the house first, because this leadership starts from mother at home, it starts with father at home, it starts with the elderly people in case anybody is available at home. So this leadership what we are talking about, where the person has to be a respectable leader, he has to be performing the activities at the basic unit level. The words what we use, the body language what we use, the way we handle our situations when there is a stress that is there. Every time the world is not to be going to be good or offering us always the good situations throughout. In a stressful situation, how are we responding at our home? Am I shouting? Or am I screaming at things at the top of my voice? Am I throwing different things? Am I creating stress to myself and to my family members? So that is the leadership, which there are very strong cues, very strong habits which are formed at the unit level of the home. The moment these things we are able to take care, as we grow up, they become very strong behavioral patterns of the generation. So therefore, it is calling for an action at a very unit level at the home. It is giving us a technique where human beings, how they learn right from the childhood. When the child is smiling, right from the childhood, then it is going about the learning patterns. These learning patterns are happening as an acquired knowledge. This is all an acquired knowledge. So the learning patterns, whether how we are reading, am I reading a book? Am I reading something from the internet? Am I reading something from the newspaper? Am I gaining the knowledge from my friends and associates? Am I gaining knowledge from my peers? How am I inviting? What kind of people am I interacting with? All these things are being observed at the basic level of a home. So this leadership is the responsibility of every parent, where mother and father at a unit level. So that there are exemplary, they set up exemplary standards by way of their actions, like the karma yoga is indicating. We have to set those examples by way of our lifestyle. So this calls for the change of a lifestyle. Automatically, the people at home, they start working on it. Same is the case when we apply it into our professional life. Now, when we are in the professional life, like what Sandeep was also saying, he couldn't have carried up his career ladder so fast, hierarchies of 7 layers, if he was not an exemplary leader. Same was the case when I was also working in my organization. After I leaving that particular pharmaceutical company, people used to ask, who is this Niranjan who has done this carpet kind of a coverage of the entire field? Entire field. Once I left the company, the next person who has come in my position, he was just taking the sales, just booking the sales order. Why? Because we have set an example like that, doing a carpet covering without leaving an inch. That is the field work. That's the impact of the field work. Later on, when I was there in the management also, people come from IIMs or so-called top-notch educational institutions, but they sit in the place and then give the instructions. They do not know the field realities. We are thinking like that, but we got to respect their thinking abilities. We have to offer a respect, because their role is to offer a strategy, and the role of an operational person is to do the action. So a strategy which is being formed is at a very high level. These kind of leadership, they give a policy framework, whether it is practical or not, whether it is implementable or not, at the level of the leadership is different. So the kind of leadership that we have to offer is a practical leadership by way of its implementation. Even if I'm sitting forming a strategy, if I can combine that thinking ability with associated related action, it calls for supreme leadership. So there are different leaderships which a person might be able to exercise. Now the choice is for us whether I just want to say the words and leave for the other person to do the operational issues, or I say the word and I walk what I say. That is the best policy. So Bhagavad Gita is advising that it respects those kind of a leaders who set the right examples. Choice is for us what we want to implement in our daily life. For example, my choice of treating a particular situation demands a particular role sitting in a particular position. In that position, maybe I'm acting like a ruthless person. But that doesn't mean to say that I am ruthless. But if in that situation it demands that I do a action which is ruthless, like it has happened in terms of Kurukshetra. Killing people is a ruthless activity. But why was it done? Because there is a higher purpose. So we as intelligent people must not just do actions. We must anchor our actions into the purpose. If we don't anchor our action into the purpose, we will be swayed by different types of emotions, by different types of situations, and then we forget about the purpose, what we want to achieve, and our leadership is hampered. We are not able to set the right example. So that person who is having a balanced approach in his thought process and in his actions, that is the right way of setting an example. Just because it is right to do something as per the situation, that doesn't mean to say that is as per the dharma. For example, a rishi is sitting in his meditation, sitting there, and there is this girl who is running and then coming, asking him to protect from one of the persons who is trying to force upon her and then rape her. Muni is just seeing, and then she has gone, traveled back, and then she is hiding behind, for example. Now, this person who is trying to capture this girl or lady, and then he's coming in and asking this rishi, did you see a girl running from here? So now what will be the situation of this rishi? What is the example he has to set? What would be his exemplary position? What he has to do? This is what the dharma teaches us. This is what is an exemplary thing. Just because if in an apartment everything we have to take care of the situation, we don't need to create hatred of other people towards us. We could still set an example by way of being balanced. In terms of our thought process, maybe we might have to confront, and after our confrontation, still we can have a smooth dialogue with those people. They might not give us the dialogue, that is okay. But what is your leadership calling for? What is your exemplary action calling for? That is what this is saying. In case we are now reading, say for example, Bhagavad Gita here, it is setting an example in our family that time, effort, what we are doing in terms of setting the right example of how we do the learning. For example, these are exemplary steps. They might not immediately follow now, but when the situation arises, they will follow it automatically. We don't need to force anything on anybody. Yes, depending on the scenario, situation, we will have to act at different levels. Wherever there is force that is needed, we might be very stern in certain situation. We might be stern and friendly at certain situations. We might be friendly at certain situations. So we change our leadership styles from time to time, having a balance of our mind, our thought processes, and our actions. So these things, even the way we think, our body language, the voice, the tone, all these try to set the example such that we could become a respectable leader. Why should we do this? Because it is the basic nature of a human being that he wants to follow by way of imitation. He learns through imitation. He is seeking for such kind of examples throughout. throughout, whether he is at home, he's with his friends, he's doing some work or activities, knowingly or unknowingly, mostly it is unknowingly, at the level of the subconscious, he is actually learning, because the mind always seeks the kind of things what he wants to achieve, or he wants himself to be like. He will be learning things. Therefore, it is important as an individual unit, myself, I should learn how to behave myself in various scenarios. Similarly, I will be also looking at somebody else who is higher than me to learn, like what Sandeep was also telling. Definitely, we respect such kind of a person who knows more than what we are, and we want to learn from them. The same is the example if we play any kind of a sport. If I play with a person who is at a lower level compared to me, he will learn many tricks and techniques from me compared to what I can learn from him. He will come to my level very fast, but I will be at the same level where I am. Now, it is my choice of whether I want to bring him up in that kind of a thing, or while I'm bringing up, I can also learn from a person who is at a higher level compared to me. That's how I would grow in a ladder until one becomes a supreme leader, where he is the ultimate kind of a guy where other people look for learning. So it is a continuous ladder, it is a continuous process until we leave this body. There is no end for learning, there is no end for learning, because vidya is aparam. Vidya is aparam. There will be many people following our footsteps the moment we start such kind of a leadership activity, and our attitude towards learning, towards behaving, towards executing, and becoming a proper leader is our entire responsibility for ourselves. This is the kind of a comment that Bhagavad Gita Sloka 3.21 is indicating. It's a very nice and very simple, straightforward kind of a Sanatana Dharma, age-old truth, which stands true even today. With this, I end my comments. Thank you.
As usual, you are excellent.
Thank you,
Don't
Madhu.
need to again repeat it. That in the last previous session, as Anand was saying, your energy is contagious, and maybe we also get that contagious energy along with you and flow with you. Thanks, Niru.
Sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a very nice shloka, actually, very practical, very easy to implement in our daily life. Regularly, we can just put it into practice. Very easy and very simple. మంచిగా ఉంటుంది ఇది చాలా సింపుల్ శ్లోక అండ్ ఎప్పుడెప్పుడు మనం ఒక యాక్షన్ చేస్తున్నామంటే దీన్ని గుర్తుపెట్టుకున్నామంటే వీళ్ళు ఆటోమేటిక్లీ
కరెక్ట్ ఎందుకంటే నేను మా పేరెంట్స్ నుంచి ఏం నేర్చుకున్నానో అన్నట్టు సందీప్ రైట్లీ సెడ్ like as our kids, for our kids we are the hero and the heroine.
Correct.
As the same thing for our childhood, our parents, my mother and dad, are heroines. So whatever whatever they have done, good or bad, whatever, obviously we learn, because that's the stage where we learn from that will imbibe into our brain and soul. This is what is our parents. So obviously we try to, like you said, unconsciously we try to imitate them and become like them. So if we are put in a right track and good track by our parents, obviously when we grow up, that is always there subconscious. Hey, chinnappudu itla cheppiru cheyaddu ante cheyaddu. So that is there. Whatever we want to do it also, our conscious will not allow, because okay, this is bad. My parents told this is bad. Same thing that Sandeep was right to say. We follow that. Whatever we set examples, our future generation will follow the same thing. Now it's upon us what we give them.
Right.
We give them education, that is there, but as a responsibility, and we should give them a good thought process. That's what this sloka ultimately tells, which is also, as you rightly said, proven, age old but proven.
Yes.
Fact.
Yes.
And to my learning and our group, this one,
I think నేనేమనుకుంటున్నా అంటే ఈ టైంలో యాక్చువల్లీ దెర్ ఇస్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ రెవల్యూషన్ దట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్ ఇన్ ద ఎంటైర్ వరల్డ్ వేర్ పీపుల్ స్టార్టెడ్ రియలైజింగ్ ద వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ ది సనాతన ధర్మ అండ్ ద కైండ్ ఆఫ్
I qualify. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I want to qualify your statement. Not people started realizing, the sleeping people started realizing.
Very true.
Please go.
No, they are applying a lot of techniques now. You see, if you see people like Sadhguru or people like such kind of people who are there, they are doing amazing kind of work. Not just in India. See,
Yeah.
Sadhguru Isha Foundation is just one such foundation. ISKCON is doing a wonderful job worldwide. If you see at the Himalaya Masters, they are doing a fantastic job worldwide. It is not just about this. Every person has understood that the only technique for us to take the human level to the next position is through the Sanatana Dharma techniques. No doubts
Right.
about it. So that is what is one of the strong realization. People started realizing it, like what Sandeep says also is the sleeping people. Valandaru kuda mella mella realize ayipoyaru, and good that the kind of an offering which is coming through our Sanatan Dharma is getting revived. So it's a phase. It's a phase. Andukane మేము కూడా what we are in the beginning కూడా నేను చెప్పి ఉన్నాను, we have to identify such techniques. We have to identify and we have to come up with a proper structure. ఒక structure రావాలి మనము. We have to come up with a structure which is which can be implemented through a set of policies, either through the government or through the private or through NGO or whatever is that instrument or the channel which is going to go is a separate issue altogether. But we have to start putting our thought processes into that. మనం వెయ్యాలి, ఆ టెక్నిక్స్ పెట్టాలి, పోయే ముందు ఏదో ఒక మంచి పని చేసి పోవాలి. So hopefully we will do that.